So we're spending about 400, £500 a day on paid advertising, meta in particular, right? And when you look at like ROAS, so return on ad spend inside those platforms, sometimes they can look a little bit negative, like they're not performing the way you would like. So for example, your cost to acquire a customer could be £70, but like, if you actually were selling a product at £70, if that was the only purchase that customer was going to make, you'd likely be losing money. But anyways, that's what some of our campaigns were showing. And I was looking at it and I was like, well, they're making a lot of sales, but yeah, they don't seem to be making money. So our media buyer turned them off, just deactivated those campaigns. And like on the face of it, you think that's the right thing. But as the weeks went on and more of these campaigns were turned off, we discovered that other campaigns were starting to perform less well. And we also discovered that overall, the business, like some of the sales in generally were declining, and we were trying to figure out, well, like, why is this happening? So I did a bit of analysis with the data, and I discovered that when we were spending more on paid advertising, we were getting a lot more organic sales and direct sales and sales from other channels, right? Now, these sales weren't being directly attributed to any campaign, but yet they were there. And when the campaigns went off, they disappeared, right? After maybe 2-3 day lag. Likewise, other campaigns we were running, like the cost to acquire a customer on them increased, and then they were also turned off. So it was kind of like this flywheel of like deactivating campaigns and increased, cost to acquire a customer. Our marketing efficiency ratio was dropping. So like for every pound we spent, we were getting less back. And I was like, okay, something's wrong here. So what I hypothesized was that there was a lot of sales happening from the Meta campaigns that weren't being attributed to Meta. So they were like people seeing our ad and then a few days later coming back and buying directly on their phone or on their laptop. There were people seeing our first ad and then buying on our second ad or second campaign. But the first ad kind of like warmed them up and then they bought on the second. There was a lot of things like that happening that was very hard to quantify like definitively. But if we took the entire business like as a macro, you could see the correlation. But on a micro, it was difficult. But on a macro, yes, we could see it. So I made a bold move. I turned all our best campaigns back on and I increased the ad spend. And lo and behold, 5 days after doing that, every one of those 5 days was considerably better than the previous day where a lot of these campaigns were off. And our efficiency overall, like our marketing efficiency ratio, went up nearly 40-50%. So that meant for every pound or euro dollar we spent on paid advertising, we're getting 40-50% more back. And like on paper, that shouldn't have happened, but in reality, it did. So if you're running paid advertising, my thoughts are that, you know what, it's a cumulative thing. So instead of concentrating on a campaign basis in general, you should look more at the overall account. So as long as the business overall is profitable, as long as the business overall is making sales, as long as our entire business as a marketing efficiency ratio is high, that's fine. Keep scaling, because we have to look at the business as a whole. Like when the bank comes in or when the revenue or HMRC does their audits and they look at your accounts, they don't look at just your ads. They look at everything. We have to look at everything as well, because I think as you're scaling a business, you have to concentrate on scale. And then obviously there's other things that can come into it. Like you can look at average order value. You can look at the cost of your products. You can look at lifetime customer value. All these metrics are really important and they really help to drive like your net profit. But for marketing and for advertising, you need to think of like, I need to have a lot of different campaigns going here, and they all just filter through to getting customers to the stage where they're like, I'm going to purchase that item. So that was probably the biggest aha moment this week. And it's kind of like a change of how I look at marketing and look at the campaign data inside Facebook. Now, obviously, if, for example, like the click-through rate is terrible on an ad, that means it's not resonating. But if we got good click-through rate, I'm like, okay, it is resonating. Or if it's got, nice steady stream of purchases, it is good. Let's leave it. Ads can still be bad, but in general, if they meet those metrics and our MER is good, leave it on. It's doing good. So yeah, that was my big thing for today.